So here's the Lecomte Stakes, and it was a diluted field with some scratches. And just as a general note, I thought that was major league, big time disappointment, and it had the effect of a bait and switch. These trainers are getting a little carried away with selective entries, and if you're going to enter a horse, run them unless there's a health issue. And I don't know, I didn't hear anything about why some of these horses were scratched. But it's really becoming kind of comical, especially when these races are supposed to be building blocks for the Kentucky Derby. So just a general note, I was pretty disappointed all the way around with the pick 5. There were scratches in every stakes race that diluted the fields and shrunk the odds, and it turned out to be we hit it, but it was a really chalky pick 5, and it was almost don't want to turn money away, but kind of felt a little shame in collecting on it because it was so chalky. But anyway, that's enough of that. So here's the Lecomte, and it was we had a 6-horse field, and let's see how it turned out.
Every day from the fairgrounds to Renegade.
You see a pretty solid break. Everybody got away in good order. And as we expected, Track Phantom right to the lead, and Nash right off his throat latch. Nash with the ground-saving rail trip, no excuses. And that's really the underlying theme of this race. There were no excuses for those top 4 right there. Pretty much went that way all the way around the track, and when you have a race like that, it really speaks to the lack of quality in the field, or a pretty lousy race. And Track Phantom was allowed to get soft fractions, had plenty in the tank left, and won like a good horse should. And so I think Track Phantom has definitely shown that he's to be taken seriously, but you can't really like those other 3 because not one of them had an excuse for a dud performance. In particular, Nash really just the second time in a row. You look right here like he's going to make a move and kick it in, and he just didn't do it. And they got after him this time too, and yet he still.
It's Track Phantom.
Just no excuses whatsoever, and he just could not get to him. So the question is Track Phantom that good, and these others that bad? I think it's probably more of that than anything else.
Who has the kick? Nash chased the pace. That long. Ethan Energy. Well, back to Tizzy Indy now 5th. It is Track Phantom with Joel Rosario.
He won like a good horse should. I mean, it's a solid win for Track Phantom. And from this race, maybe Ethan Energy I'll give another look down the line, but you can't like what you saw out of Nash. And maybe Latlong's got a little room for improvement, but pretty disappointing race, I thought. So let's take a look at the report card of the contestants. Obviously, the 2 scratches, we get an incomplete, as it were. To me, there really wasn't a superior, like an A-level effort in this race, and it mainly has to do with what now appears to be a subpar field. Ken Group didn't show up at all, so he gets an F, nor did Tizzy Indy. Obviously, at this stage of the game, they don't belong on the Derby trail. Probably go back to turf for both of them. I'm going to give Track Phantom a B+ because he didn't do anything wrong. And I don't know if we could say he necessarily made a move forward because he didn't have any more of a test than he had in the last race. And that's kind of the way I'm looking at it. So I'm giving him a B+. When he either has to do something other than be on the lead or faces a better field in the Risen Star, let's say, and he repeats, then that would be an A-level effort. But for now, he gets a B+. He's a good, solid student. He's not doing anything wrong. He just hasn't faced what appears now to be any real top opposition. I'm willing to be a little more sympathetic with Ethan Energy coming out of his maiden race and going into the stakes foray. He rated pretty well. He hung in there for a while before dropping back, and based upon the fact that he was able to compete for a while and his maiden effort, I think there's some more potential with him, and I think there's upside. So we'll give him a C, and hopes that with a little more schooling, a little more training, that he can progress in the Risen Star or wherever they send him next. God knows, we don't know what these trainers are doing. Latlong, to me, made a very favorable impression. He really, took a while to break his maiden, and he did have some good fields he faced, but what I was down on about him was his last maiden race wasn't a very good field, and so it was kind of hard to judge, but he certainly took a step forward off of that, and I believe he is improving. He ran better than about what I thought. I mean, I thought he'd be right around third, or if he was going to finish in the money. But he looks to be one that has more upside certainly than Nash. At this point, I gave Nash a D+, and I almost want to give him an F. The only reason he doesn't get an F is that he did finish second. He did what he basically did in the gun runner. So I don't think he's moving forward, and I can't. It's inexplicable to me how a horse can win their maiden with showing such promise and getting such a big number, and really just can't seem to take another step forward. And really, just there were no excuses for any horse in this race, as I've belabored that point. I think you'd agree with me on that. So from this list, Track Phantom, I think, is one that that certainly is a bona fide Derby contender at this point. And Latlong and Ethan Energy, I think, maybe have some potential, particularly Latlong if he continues to progress. But I'm way off the bandwagon on Nash, and who knows? If he can, maybe they'll give him another bite at the apple. I think it'd be a real good indicator of what they think about him if they move him out of Louisiana and maybe send him to New York or somewhere else, like they did with Hit Show last year, who was a cut below the best. So, just a pretty disappointing race, and all the three I mentioned, the 5, 6, and 7, I think are the ones that look to me have potential to progress, and Track Phantom certainly at the top of this class from the Lecomte.